Hey guys, let's finish with talking about how to make your rollout successful. So I've broken it into two things. One, flicking a switch, and two, what you can do each day, particularly in the beginning. Flicking a switch. So without being too controversial, I'm a little bit older, grey hair, but in the 80s, we did massive change programs, 80s and 90s, really quickly. And basically back then, there was no social media. Can you imagine? No social media, no email even before 96. So when you're managing a large change program, you had to stand up in front of the audience, your employees, and explain it, the thinking behind it, what's going to happen, what's in it for them, and then live in front of them, take all the questions and immediately give your answer without even any time to think, on your feet. And that was me at 24, standing in front of 400, 500, 600 people every Friday managing a major change program. And I remember an M&A I did at that age. It was just huge. I think it was 800 people and we were 600 and we were kind of being taken over. And the 600 were aggravated and worried about their jobs, their future, who was going to have what roles. And there was a lot of duplication, you could imagine, between the two. And there I was, given the role of change manager at 24. And now it takes so long to implement even the most basic things, and we've got this fantastic tech. And the folks that are getting paid 200, 300, 500, $500,000 a year create committees for employees to make decisions. I just don't understand it. So look, I'm ranting. StratApp, flick a switch, lead by example, and do it within your sphere of influence. So it might not be 600 people out of the gate, but if you've got your direct reports as a CEO or business owner, and then they've got theirs, just do it progressively within your sphere of influence. And flicking a switch means no more internal email and stop using chat channels. We still use a chat channel to say, hey, I'm running late. Look, I need to knock off early because something's happening with my kids. That's fine. But with work, put the work where it belongs. And you've already seen on this program how easy that is to do inside StratApp. So I'll just put a big circle around that. Pause for one moment before you ask a question about a project or a client or a task or a risk or anything. Just think, where does this conversation belong? I'll pause for a moment because in the end, everyone will be able to move faster because all the conversations will be organized around the work. You'll have the history, and think about induction. New leaders, 66, 67%, I think is the stat, fail when they come into a role. It's not a recruitment issue. I think largely it is just coming into a new environment and trying to operate. Imagine in StratApp, all of the history is there in front of them of the team they're coming in to run as a leader. Everything at their fingertips. Likewise, an employee doesn't have to go through sort of a month of induction and 3 months of trying to get up to speed. They can immediately see everything in StratApp because the conversations, the decisions, the history, it's all organized around the work. So decision making will be quicker, leaders will have more chance of succeeding, employee onboarding will go down to weeks instead of months, and everyone will work much quicker, right? So you're not having context switching, as we mentioned earlier. It takes a little bit of discipline, but it's flick a switch. So the clients we have who fall in love with the onboarding experience, seeing the app, setting up their tree, and then kind of toe in the water, take their time to get into this way of working, typically fail. They circle back 6 months later and go again, might take 3 starts to succeed. In the end, they get there. But the ones that immediately, from today, go, right, I'm going to put everything in StratApp, put the conversations where they belong, and make sure that my people do the same, will succeed within a few days, and their world will change within a few days. So to help you do that, a couple of tips each day. Just go to that upcoming page and plan your own day. Remembering anything you create there is confidential, so to collaborate with others, you'll need to add them to it or make it restricted. Plan your own day and upcoming, and all the tasks that are coming from other places inside the company will be automatically hitting your upcoming space, and you can organize what order you're going to do the work. Every time you go to a meeting, just create a meeting card and put it where it belongs inside the app, which might mean creating a task or a project or somewhere to put it. But just make sure you're creating a meeting card for every meeting and then capturing the actions as tasks hanging off that meeting card. And if you get into that discipline, Plus the other benefits, right, of setting an agenda, a purpose, doing your prep for the meeting. There's a whole lot of other benefits which you would have picked up from the session we did before on the meeting card. Just do that every time. You'll quickly get others into the app as well as your own proficiency of using the tech. And lastly, the huddle. Just to do a 7-minute huddle for the first 21 days of the folks that you're working with directly, and make sure that that replicates through the company. Just to share, hey, this is what I learned using the app, and this is what I'm trying, and this is how it's going for me. And just sharing that knowledge is the fastest way to elevate your experience of rolling out StratUp. And I think related to this, putting it where it belongs, if you're a leader, you need to be a little bit firm. And it's a bit like our kids learning, I think first Catalan, then Spanish, then we moved to Australia and they had to learn English. And of course, they wanted to speak Catalan, and mum would say, hey, I understand what you're saying, but I need you to say it now in English. So can you just say it again in English? Actually, it was the other way around. So we're trying to keep the Catalan living in Australia, now that I think about it. So it was basically, they were going to school, and they'd come home, they'd want to speak English, and mum had to have to say, well, I do understand you, but remember, we want to maintain the mother tongue whilst we're living in this country, so please repeat it in Catalan. Do that a few times, the kids stop speaking English back inside the house, and you quit because they don't want to repeat themselves. Same analogy inside the workspace. So if someone emails me, I'm politely saying, hey, just put it where it belongs in StratUp and I'll get back to you. Someone shares a document to me, comes through as an email notification, I'm like, hey, where's that in StratUp so I can work on it? Put the link inside StratUp. I start off like that. After a while, I just ignore them if they keep going, right? But you've got to pick your own style for your own culture. People get the message really quickly. But if you, as I said before, toe in the water, go slowly, think of the 80s and 90s, massive change programs. For us, rolling out a social app back then wasn't a change management program. It's something you just did tomorrow, right? Hey guys, this is what we're doing tomorrow. You need to kind of go back to that leadership a little bit with something as innovative as StratUp. It really comes down to the leader, the success, and everyone wants to be where the leader is. So if you're working the app, setting the example, expecting the interaction inside the app, you'll blow the company away with how fast you're able to move quickly in terms of executing strategy and cultural change and being able to innovate on the fly and getting ready for the next generation. You'll become a next gen leader and you'll be ready for the next generation that comes through. Bearing in mind, millennials are 75% of the workforce in 2025. Something to think about. Okay, so that's it. That's how to be successful inside StratUp. Throw yourself into it. Make sure others do around you. Share the knowledge each day in a quick huddle and just get into this cadence and discipline. And you'll find within 3 weeks, you'll have a whole new company as opposed to sort of having 3 or 4 goes at it and getting there in 6 months. 3 weeks is not a long time, just a little bit of discipline like you need in any other aspect of life. It's a little bit of discipline to get to where you're trying to get to. Good luck.